Los Angeles, home to stars, Hollywood, glitz, and glamour. But we're not here for Beverly Hills and Rodeo Drive. We've come to the Port of Los Angeles, the biggest container port in the country. Each year, millions of containers go in and out of these waters. Inside are electronics, cars, medical devices, and tons of other stuff. Most of it coming from and going to China. So when you hear about the escalating trade war between China and our country, this place is seeing it firsthand. The goods come in here, then they're shipped to stores and wind up in our homes. That's why trade is such a big issue as we count down to this fall. Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart, and the 2018 midterms, they're just a couple of months away. These are crucial races. They determine the balance of power in Washington. So each week, we're going to be looking at the issues that matter to you. We're going to be diving deep to help you be informed when you cast your ballot, looking at issues like immigration and education, healthcare, and gun control. But this week, we're talking trade, and that's why we're at the Port of Los Angeles. This place is just absolutely massive. But not only are we here in LA, we are also across America, and Russell Haythorne, he went to the Midwest taking a look at how the trade war is impacting the heartland.
On the Walton farm near Iowa City, Iowa.
There we go.
This year's soybean crop is as good as it gets.
This is a really nice looking plant. It's healthy.
Out here, most days aren't easy.
It is an extreme challenge.
Yet they find the good in most days.
Just doing what you love.
That optimism could be why the Waltons have been here for so long.
For us, it's crops and livestock.
Dave is a sixth-generation soybean farmer in Iowa.
I've got two sons that'd like to farm too.
His sons will be the seventh.
I don't want to do anything else in life.
All that said, there is much anxiety about the future, perhaps more now than ever.
We were already looking at lower profits, and this tariff issue has made it even worse.
Of the 900 acres the Waltons farm, 300 are soybeans.
We sell most of our soybeans to a river terminal.
They're then loaded onto a barge on the Mississippi, shipped downriver, and eventually to China, where a growing middle class has an insatiable appetite for all things soy.
They use it mainly for animal feed, and also they crush the oil out of it they use for cooking. You also have specialty types of soybeans for edamame and tofu.
Soybeans are by far the #1 food and beverage export of the U.S., $22 billion a year. So when the White House announced 25% tariffs on some Chinese imports, China struck back, placing a 25% tariff on U.S.-grown soybeans in retaliation.
Using soybeans as a negotiating tool is something the Chinese understood. They knew that that's one of our largest exports, so it made sense for them to target soybeans.
As a result of that and other instabilities in the market, the price of soybeans has tumbled.
You could be looking at a loss this year. It's not fun to be a pawn in this.
And it's not just exports like soybeans. Just across the river from Iowa, here in Moline, Illinois, is the headquarters of John Deere. And the equipment maker says if tariffs on steel cost more to make its iconic green and yellow machinery, it'll charge more. John Deere says it's determined to protect profits, which topped $1 billion in the second quarter of this year alone. It is cranking out equipment at a dizzying pace, with sales up 34% over last year. Those rising equipment costs also hit farmers.
It's kind of this vicious circle of, we got to get this fixed.
Dave doesn't blame the president alone.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a bunch of moving pieces in trade. There was already somewhat of a restriction for U.S. beans going into China.
This Iowa farmer is now working other world markets to find a solution. He just returned from Europe, where there's a growing demand for soy as well.
To see if we can become the preferred supplier for soybeans to the EU.
A farmer, yes, but hardly simple-minded.
I would say my mindset has always been outside of my own farm gate.
In Wilton, Iowa.
If you learn anything about farmers, we're pretty resilient.
Russell Haythorne for The Race.
Trade policy is born in Washington. It's a point of contention for Republicans and Democrats. Corey Rangel taking a look at both sides, and they're a lot closer than you might think.
President Donald Trump has managed to bring Democrats and Republicans together on at least one issue, trade. Members of both parties have come out against the president's tariffs, arguing they will hurt American jobs and raise the prices on products Americans buy.
The tariffs leveled against Canada and European allies are misguided and poorly timed.
I don't think tariffs are the right answer. I don't support tariffs. I think tariffs are taxes.
Instead, the GOP has urged the president to pursue trade deals, not tariffs. While the Republican Party has broadly supported much of the president's agenda, the trade issue has caused some chaos within the party.
Well, the party's divided over trade. The Republican Party has traditionally been the party of free trade, of trying to expand trade across the world. President Trump has a different opinion on trade than what we've seen from the traditional Republican line in the past.
While Democrats have been outspoken, they argue there's not much they can do to change trade policies.
In terms of what Democrats can do about it, not much. Democrats don't control the House, they don't control the Senate, so the only thing they've been able to do is raise these issues with their Republican counterparts and with the White House directly in hopes that something will happen, but so far we haven't seen Republicans take up a lot of action on the issue.
A few Republicans have taken steps to try to limit the president's power on imposing certain tariffs, but those actions have fallen short of having any impact. For The Race, I'm Corey Rangel.
Oh, when we talk about a trade war, there is one word that just seems to be coming up again and again. Newsy's Eugene Daniels and cartoonist Nick Refuerzo teamed up to explain tariffs.
International trade isn't easy. It takes tons of cooperation and agreements, and sometimes it gets complicated and messed up by our old friend. What's a tariff? A tariff is basically a tax thrown on something that's being imported. Say a company in country A really wanted to sell shoes in country B. Country B could throw a tariff on those sweet sneaks, meaning it would cost the company in country A more money to sell them. There are essentially two types of tariffs, specific and ad valorem. The latter is a flat tax on one unit of some imported good, like a $300 tariff on each bushel of wheat. Ad valorem, which means according to value in Latin, is a tax based on the percentage of that good's value. So if there is a 15% tariff on a type of car, the money that tariff is bringing in would rise and fall with the car's market price, but the percentage would stay the same. Nowadays, tariffs can be implemented to protect domestic companies from worldwide competition, to protect consumers for national security reasons, to raise revenue, or in retaliation for the actions of another country. But using tariffs comes with a risk. If two countries start slapping punitive tariffs on each other, it could spark a tit-for-tat trade war, which almost no one wants.
Well, we are getting closer to the midterm elections in November, and it really determines the balance of power in Washington. Right now, tipped in favor of the White House, but all of that could change on November 6th. Just this week, 5 states held primaries, 1 held a special House election, and we found that a record number of women are running for governor and the U.S. House. There are now at least 183 women nominated to run for the House this year. That beats the previous record of 167 that was set in 2016. This is according to numbers from the Center for American Women in Politics. Another first this year, 11 women have been nominated for governor. That breaks the previous record of 10 set way back in 1994. You're taking a look at the Port of Los Angeles, and still to come, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to election interference. Just ahead, the cash being spent on protecting your vote, if it's even working, and what to do if you suspect something's not right. You're watching The Race.